Welcome to Hannah's Heart.
So Hannah, she's just one of the women who did struggle with infertility in the Bible.
No matter who we are, we can be inspired by the fact that Hannah took her pain to God, and God heard her and was with her.
So when she was praying at the temple, she had been weeping and not eating, and her lips were moving, but her eyes were closed, and the priest was like, "Hey, why are you drunk at the temple?"
It can become an obsession when you want a child so deeply.
And desiring that baby and to be a mama. Every holiday, every Mother's Day.
This is not a show that's going to promise you a certain outcome, but this is a show that says, however God answers your cry, we know that He's enough.
Hey, I'm Ann.
And I'm Kendra, and you're listening to Hannah's Heart on American Family Radio. And we are just so delighted to go with you on this journey of life, of trusting God through infertility, through miscarriage, through adoption, through family planning. Wherever you are in your journey, we just want to encourage you, and we hope that this show does that for you.
That's right.
We would love to connect with you, too. We love your emails, your prayer requests. You can send those to hannahsheart@afa.net. We're also forming a really great community on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. You can find our podcast page at afa.net. But come join us. We have tons of scriptures and encouragement just to keep you focused on Christ through this journey.
That's right. That's right. So today we have two special guests with us, Kendra.
Double.
That's right. One y'all have already met, Chelsea, but she has brought along with her today her hubby, Wesley.
Her better half.
Oh, you were really confident.
I'm already off on the wrong foot. I'm sorry. She's my better half.
Watch yourself. You're in a room full of women.
That's true.
But we're so glad y'all are here. Y'all want to start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, ladies first.
I
bounce back.
There you go. He's back.
I'm Chelsea Wildmon, and I'm married to Wesley, and we have a 6-month-old now, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old at home, and one sweet baby in heaven. So that's a little bit about our family, and we've been married for coming up on 9 years now.
Yes, and with our schedule right now, which we love, we've signed off on it, we've agreed to it, but with our schedule right now with activities and work and church and everything, and I do got a little bit of travel with my work, so I'm in a little bit of a brain fog. So
you're busy.
Life is full. That's what I told
Yeah.
one of our associate pastors' wives the other day. I said, instead of busy, I'm going to start to just say full. Life is really, really full and joyful and wonderful and hard all at the same time.
Yeah, I was careful to make sure I didn't come off as if I'm complaining, because I hear people complain about their life and their schedule, and I'm going, you live in America, so you pretty much get to choose what you want to do. So, if you're frustrated or upset about something, you can dial back on something or add to. So we enjoy our schedule. Just a little bit about ourselves as a couple, or as a family and a marriage, and a little bit about what I do here at AFA. We've been married for coming up on 9 years in October.
Ooh, veterans.
Yeah. At least I feel like it. I mentioned before we started this episode that with each month and each year that goes by, Chelsea and I are more and more sanctified. We learn each other more and more. Our mission and our focus on what God's called us to do gets more and more detailed and specific. And so, as my wife mentioned, Chelsea here, that we have 3 kids. And we just take that responsibility to disciple them and nurture them and to teach them the things of God's Word. We take that very seriously, and so we're doing that. And then in addition to that, we have activities and hobbies, and I enjoy coaching our son Bennett. And Chelsea on Monday nights will take our oldest daughter Landry to dance. And so, and then here I work here at AFA, and at AFA I work as a vice president of outreach for American Family Association, and I spend a lot of the time week to week meeting and developing relationships with our financial supporters. So I enjoy what I do, and I'm thankful for this program, and I'm thankful that we'll be able to share a little bit of our story today.
Well, and behind the scenes, Hannah's Heart would not be on American Family Radio without this amazing couple who believed in us and saw the vision for needing a ministry to couples, and we appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, well, I wanted to say something about that, and y'all move us along whenever we need to.
All right.
But I wanted to say that I've had at least 2 emails that have come to me over the last couple of months. One, I still have actually saved it, and they contact somehow the donor support area ladies. We have a group of ladies at AFA that take phone calls from people that call in with just questions about AFA and any things that frequently asked questions, and they help them the best they can. Well, they forwarded me an email with a specific person who said basically they had just had a miscarriage and they wanted somebody at AFA to pray for him. So I was one of those God moments. I literally had all the time in the world. So I read it and was like, okay. So I just picked up my cell phone and I just called the number that was on there. And I began to talk to one of the gentlemen who was about Chelsea and I's age. And he started telling me what had just recently happened. They had just recently had a miscarriage. And I'm pretty confident it was at least more than 2. I don't know how many, but they had several. And they were really confident that this was going to be the one that they were able to deliver. And it wasn't. And he was crying, I was crying, and I began to listen to him. And when he got through, I prayed for him. But before I prayed for him, I got to share some of Chelsea's and I's story. Yeah. About a little bit about our miscarriage, how long it took me to get to the point where I could actually minister to my wife, which is my responsibility, and especially in difficult times. And it took me several days before I could. I almost didn't. I don't even remember talking much the first couple of days at all. Not even to my father-in-law, who checked on me, who's Chelsea's dad, frequently. I didn't even have much to say. I just didn't talk a lot. That's just one of the ways I process things. But back to the story. So we're getting off the phone, and it hit me. I was like, wait, we got a ministry for this. Hold on. I was like, you're not going yet, are you? He was like, no. I was like, okay. He was like, hey, let me get your email. Got his email, and then I sent him Hannah's Heart, and I explained to him about 60 seconds before we got off the phone about what it is. Yeah. He was like, I've been listening to y'all. Like, I follow you all the time. Like, I don't know anything about this. How do I not know about this? I was like, well, it is new. So I want to encourage our audience that don't just hoard this this ministry, this content, because this is an exception to generic ministry that's out there that's good. There's a lot of good ministries at apologetics, a lot of good stuff out there, but there's nothing as unique as what y'all do on this program. So if you're benefiting from it, make sure to let somebody know, or at least have it in your back pocket like I did when I was with someone.
And share with someone else.
That's really neat. Just because you never do know who's struggling. Especially, I feel like for men, you're saying that you got really quiet and really didn't have much to say for a few days. I feel like that sounds a lot like my husband, who still definitely seems strong and all that, and definitely wants to be there for me, talking about we have 4 babies in heaven. But he got really, really quiet. We almost both got quiet. It was like we didn't know what to say to each other. And so, anyway, I think that is neat that a man to man, you were able to help another man in that situation.
Yeah, it was very neat. God, it was one of those that could not have been more ordained. I mean, you couldn't have gone away going, I'm not sure if I was supposed to call that person or not. It was like, I knew for sure. And so it went really well, and I'm grateful for that opportunity and for what y'all do with Hannah's Heart. So I felt like a week before I even really said much or even had emotions about it, just because it's hard to even believe that is a possibility, because when something that traumatic happens, most of the time you're hearing about it because somebody else had experienced it, and you're trying the best you can to be there for them and to help them, but this time it's you. And that's why it's just, for me personally, it was hard to believe that this is happening to us. Right. I say me, us.
Because we had already, the big announcement on social media and telling your friends and family.
Yep.
Yes, we, Wesley encouraged me. I thought, well, I don't know if I want to tell everybody quite yet. And he encouraged me. You know what? If anything,
slightly pushed you.
It's okay. Yeah. But if anything happens, then we have just that many more, that many more people praying for us. Right. And it was a hidden blessing that we did go ahead. Well, of course, yes. And
you were too, but there's reasons why you were hesitant to make the big announcement at that particular time. But we did it.
But we did. But then so many people then knew and were able to be there for us, minister to us, and just understand that, if I was quiet for a while, I'm just going through something. We just experienced a loss. So
how far along were you?
they thought that the baby stopped growing and that his or her heartbeat stopped around the 9 to 10 week time frame, but we found out at our 12-week appointment. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We will link, by the way, in the description on our podcast page and anywhere you can find this. If you want to go back and hear the rest of Chelsea's story, she talks a little bit more in depth about the miscarriage and everything that their family went through. We have been so blessed to have you on our program talking about that and just from the heart. But the reason we brought you back is because there was so much more that we didn't get to. And hearing a husband's perspective and specifically a marriage. How does this affect a marriage? So we want to get into some of that today.
Wait a minute. How many times you been on without me now?
I know, twice already.
Sneaky.
Third time's a charm, so you came along with me.
We can't let her leave. We're
Exactly.
like, please come back again.
Well, thanks for letting me be on.
Well, Wesley, tell us a little bit. How do you think a man grieves differently than a woman when it comes to something like this?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. I've always been and want to be, and this is just something that was instilled to me from all the men that were involved in my life, very specifically, just to name a few, my granddad and my dad and a few others who taught me to be a leader in the sense that, when things are very difficult, not to overreact or underreact, just to make sure that you're
Stay level,
and also to remember that, and this is not to oversimplify it, but remember that God's in control, and that and to look to Him, look to His Word, and so be that stability, specifically for your family, but also to those that you're leading. But in this case, specifically your family. So. I wanted to do that same thing, knowing that this was a difficult time for us. So my primary focus for several days, even maybe 2 weeks, was to make sure that I don't say anything crazy or dumb or stupid in the emotion of that when she's grieving significantly different than I am. And so, and that's just the hard reality that it was different because my wife, Chelsea, the baby was physically in her, which is a whole nother level of what I couldn't possibly experience. So with that said, it was my primary focus for several days was like making sure that I was all about ministering to Chelsea in a way that I didn't know at the time how to, but I was learning day by day.
You mainly listened a lot. I will give you props on that. You really mainly just listened, and I remember a few times I said, "But you're not talking back. Why? What are you feeling?" And he said, I don't know what to feel. Just when I'm ready to talk, I will. So I tried not to push, but at the same time, I wanted to be there for him as well. So we just tried to find.
Really, the whole time
you were just trying to, yeah. We were trying to outserve each other, which is great. But
we learned that in marriage counseling before. We went through a couple weeks of marriage counseling leading up to, from the pastor that married us, leading up to our wedding, and that's the one of many things that I remember, but specifically to outserve each other, and that's what we were trying to do, is outserve each other. So it took me a while, and then. Also, right in there within that week window too, I had this. I walked in. I was getting, I think, Landry to sleep or something. Somehow or another, I noticed in her room we have a painting of her heartbeat in her room, and so I saw that. And
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was gonna talk about that.
I saw Landry's heartbeat picture, who's our 4-year-old daughter, and thought, well, we've got several pictures of the heartbeat of our baby who is now in heaven. So I took, I think I snuck it. I snuck the heartbeat because I wanted it to be a surprise for Chelsea. So I snuck the heartbeat. One of my best friends from college, who's my roommate, his wife is an artist. So, and she does these things all the time. And so I dropped it off to her, and she painted it up and painted a heartbeat, and we have it in our hallway at our house.
It has
with the date.
Yes.
And,
yes,
with
the baby's due date and some angel wings and a cross and
beautiful picture.
When I tell you,
hand done and everything.
Yes, that's aside from my wedding ring, the most meaningful thing that Wesley's ever given me. it really, really touched my heart. He gave it to me in the parking lot of AFA a few weeks after, and I just broke down. That means so much to me, and now we have that just as a sweet little reminder that baby is a part of our family, and that was really sweet.
Yeah, and Chelsea, during those 3 weeks, it was during those 2 and 3 weeks where she didn't understand why I wasn't talking, or where I was going with this, and the issues, how I was processing things, and all the while I was thinking about that and doing things like that, because that's the only thing I could do to feel like I was doing my part as a husband for Chelsea. So we've got that, and some of the frequently asked questions from our children, now that they understand the best they can of what has happened and where our baby is, they want to know, was it a boy or girl?
Yeah, Bennett asked me that on
Sunday. They
still
ask that.
Yeah.
They still ask that.
I really wonder, because we were talking about, man, God has blessed us. We have 2 girls, and you're our only sweet boy. I was trying to encourage him.
Build him up. Yeah.
Yes, I was spending some time with just him, and I said, man, Bennett, do you know why you're so special? You were Mama's first baby, and you're also our only boy. He said, but Mama, remember, our baby in heaven, it could have been a boy. So you might have 2 boys and 2 girls. And I said, you know what, bud? I can't wait to get to heaven to find out. So, even at 6 years old, and Landry at 4, they grasped that concept of we have another sibling. And I just think it's really sweet to continue to remember that baby.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, the last time that we had Miss Chelsea on, she shared very openly from her heart about just postpartum depression and having a baby after having a miscarriage and all the emotions that brings up. But Wesley, I would love to get your comments on emotionally, how do you support your spouse when it seems like, because Chelsea, you said that you kind of felt like a different person, like you felt like you were losing who you were.
Right.
So you marry this one person, and then something like a miscarriage comes along, and it can, that deep grief kind of changes the person, or postpartum depression, and they're struggling with an actual chemical imbalance. How did the Lord help you through those transitions?
Well, let me say this. It really happened.
Okay.
She told the truth. No, I'm kidding. At this point, Chelsea and I can have a lighter conversation and have some laughter in it. But now we can, because we're past it. We overcame it with God's help and with patience and reading the Bible.
He gave us the strength.
The strength and loving each other and remembering our vows and reading them on occasion.
Because there were hard days. There were really hard days.
I was getting to that.
Yes. And he said,
positive things.
He said, is this how?
She taught me that.
I actually did, yes. If you want to.
Compliment sandwich.
I was going to say, yes, lead in with a compliment and then gently say, yeah. But yes, I remember one time you just looked at me a couple of months probably after and said, is this how our marriage is going to be from now on? Is this permanent? And I said, no, we've been through this twice. And he knew that. But, we've been through this with Bennett. We've been through this with Landry. And we're going to get over it with Anna Wesley as well. And we did. And he knew that. But yeah, there are some days where you just have to be real with each other. Hey, this is not who, this is not who you are. And I said, I know, and I want to be me again so fast. Like I'm trying to sprint. And sometimes I'm a person who wants to just hurry up and be better. Like I don't want to sit in my, sadness and my grief and my, loneliness or whatever emotion that I'm going through. I want to just
fast forward.
I see it, but yeah, let's go ahead and just get past it. But he really did say, he encouraged me a lot. Okay, you can sit in this for a minute.
And I'll sit with you.
Yes, and I will sit with you, and I will pray with you,
here.
But we are not going to stay here. And I completely agreed with him, and, we were on the same page, like, this, we will get past this. So we just had to have like a frank conversation of, yes, this is temporary. We know this, and I can't wait to get past it. But in the meantime, just hang in there with me. And he did. He hung in there with me. And so did our family. Our family and our friends would just kind of listen and be there. And I remember many times your mom would help us with the big kids. And as far as postpartum depression goes, everyone's looks so different.
There's different severities of it.
Yes. I mean, some of the things that actually just did a good old Google search on, because my symptoms were, as I mentioned on our previous episode that I was on, I cried a lot. I didn't look forward to the end of the day. I was just, my emotions were up and down like a roller coaster, but I never didn't want to hold Bennett, Landry, and Wesley. Like, I never didn't want to not take care of, our baby. But some women go through that.
Yeah.
Some women can't connect to their baby as much as they had hoped that they could. I'm no doctor, so again, this is just from Dr. Google. But there's mood changes, there's behavior changes, your body, your weight. There's cognitive, physiological. There's all kind of, different symptoms that can go into this. So my, PPD, as they like to call it, could look completely different from another woman's. So just, remember, if you are struggling with that right now, please, reach out to someone and don't go through that alone. Like you said, Kendra, in the previous episode, find someone you trust and confide in them.
Well, for me, as far as, because even that was with the loss of our baby, but you also experienced that with all the babies.
Right.
So,
yes.
So just speaking in general, I had the opportunity of learning from experience because of so many. So I made more mistakes early on through our first child than I did with the fourth child, including our miscarriage. So I would say with the things I learned along the way, because I made more, like I said, I made more mistakes.
Well, because it was new. It's not that you made mistakes. You were just learning along with me. Hey, this is what my body goes through. This is what I go through after having a baby. Right. So it wasn't a mistake that you went through.
Well,
we just learned.
That.
Yeah.
We don't realize
we just
that
learned
it's
together.
Chemical,
exactly.
physical issue, then I think
Yes.
it would be really easy as a spouse to just say some of those comments of, well, honey, you just need to trust God.
Right.
Oh,
some of those
yes.
comments.
Just pray through it.
Pray through
You're going to be okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I'll hop in here on that one, and y'all feel free to make sure I'm speaking correctly or correct me if need be. And I want to be very careful here. But I did make sure a few times that I didn't question in doubt of that for her, but just to clarify as a starting point that we are making sure that we are trusting God,
Yes.
right? You have
Well, those statements are all still very true.
You said it in an encouraging way,
Yeah,
not a belittling.
Right.
I think that
There's
there
a
is a
big
difference.
difference.
Yes.
So from my position, as I learned and got better at the question of helping your wife go through postpartum or grieving the loss of a miscarriage, what I had learned to do as I went is eventually get to the point where I just had a couple stepping points before I got to the part that I said I'll sit with you, but we're not going to stay here, and that would be making sure that you're not overly anxious and worried about something that you can't control. So these are things that I would talk with her about.
And postpartum anxiety, I'm glad that you brought that up. That's another topic as well.
Yeah.
Being just anxious about so many things. That's another facet to postpartum depression, or a separate issue altogether.
But that's one thing I was very conscientious of early on, because I've had friends who are in a particular denomination or church that does believe that any type of anxiety or grief is solely on the person's responsibility.
Yep.
And so knowing that that's, one, not right or biblical. Number two, knowing that how that particular church or individual was pushed away from the church as a result of their depression that they were going through, or anxiety. Knowing all those things, I was very conscientious not to do that.
Yes.
At the same time, too, I didn't want to, again, not make. I didn't want to.
You didn't want to not encourage me, but you didn't want to belittle me and push me away as well.
Yeah. So I get. You know what? The best way to say it right now is like we've said before, and that's that I told you many times. I will listen to you through all that. Because remember, I'm saying this because I have no idea how this works as far as how it feels. Okay, so what she's going through, I have no clue. I have no clue. However, that at the same time, I don't want to ignore the situation or be There'd be passages. So I would say,
I remember a few times I just didn't have any, words to say
Sure.
of how I felt. So I just I remember, when the kids would go to bed, I would just say, I'm so happy and I'm so thankful for our children. And I think that when you go through this, we mentioned this briefly in our last episode, it's okay. It's okay to have grief and joy or your emotions be not completely together at that point, but that the Lord is your strength. And when we are weak, He is strong. So just remember that in those seasons.
So husbands, if your wife's going through this, be patient with her, listen to her, sit there with her, but also encourage her and help her to get through it too. Hold her hand through it.
And Wesley, you shared a scripture with us, Hebrews 3:13. I'm going to leave you all with this.
Yes.
It says, "But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness." I hope this was encouraging to you all.
Yeah, for sure. Thank y'all for listening to Hannah's Heart, and thank y'all for being here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Glad to be here. Thank you.